Is Sam here? Nancy, I see Nancy. James Martinez?
I'm here.
Hi, Nancy. Hi. Brian? James Martinez? Candace?
Yes, I'm here, present.
Yes. LaDonna, I see you. Monique,
Yep,
I see you as well. So it looks like James Martinez and Sam Betters are absent today.
Nope, Sam's here.
Oh, hey, Sam.
And I have James's proxy.
Okay, excellent. So everybody is accounted for. Let's go ahead and start the meeting off with approval of the November 2024 meeting votes. Are there any questions and comments or a motion for approval of those?
So moved.
Thanks, Sam.
Second by Candace.
Thank you, Candace. All those in favor signify by aye or hand raised.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great, thank you all for your support there. Alice and George, I see you. Would you like to kick us off with the director's comments and budget update, please?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anthea. So happy holidays, everyone. I hope that everyone is ready to celebrate whatever holiday they will be celebrating this season. And feeling that appreciation, joy, and gratitude around for folks around us. I know that I am, including all of you. I appreciate all of your dedication from the State Housing Board. With that, I just wanted to go through a few things. You'll notice that your packet is a little different, and that has to do with our accessibility updates that we're working on. So as a part of our ongoing efforts to ensure greater accessibility, we're following House Bill 21, 1110 and the accessibility guidelines established by OIT for all state departments. This means we're updating our processes to meet these standards and improve overall accessibility for our stakeholders. It's important to note that moving forward, the application packages will look a little different as we implement these changes. We appreciate your understanding as we work through the updates. And if you have any questions, please let us know. But no, it's really toward an eye to ensuring that we're being accessible for our state housing boards and the people that we work with and the public that want to see these public meetings or to participate in these public meetings. Also, our application update with our new cadence that we are working through. We're currently in the process of scoring the December applications for rental and homeownership recommendations. We anticipate presenting these recommendations to the State Housing Board in February. So please stay tuned, more to come. For homeownership program applications, I just want to make sure that folks know we have an upcoming application cycle for the homeownership programs. Applications will be due January 3rd. So please be sure to forward this information as you know there might be interested parties. Make sure that they're aware of the January 3rd deadline. And I have some internal exciting news as well. So you likely remember, and I have talked about during these meetings, we have a couple of deputy director positions and follow up to our organizational assessment. We identified that we needed a deeper bench with our leadership team. And so I had posted one brand new deputy director position, and then filling the role for Mo Miskell as well. Because remember, he was promoted to deputy executive director. Well, we have hired one of those deputies, Kristen Toombs, I'm excited to say. Will be stepping into the role of the deputy director for both the Office of Rental Assistance and for the Office of Homeless Initiatives as of January 1st. So very excited to have Kristen stepping into that role. She has extensive experience and clearly an unwavering commitment for our housing initiatives that make her the ideal person to lead these offices forward. So I'm very excited for her to start in that new role. And I'm appointing a couple of acting positions in this timeframe as we look at filling these positions. And so Julia Zafrano will be stepping in the acting position for the Office of Homeless Initiatives when we will be posting that new position, or not new position, excuse me, posting Kristen's director position soon. And with the second deputy position, replacing Mo Miskell, we're actually going to repost that position. We want to beef up the financial expertise for that role within the position description, and then also the strategic thought. So we will be reposting that position in the coming year. Okay, so keep an eye out. Okay, upcoming state housing board meetings. We are looking to get into a monthly cadence. So looking ahead, we're looking at January 28th for a meeting. This is somewhat tentative because it is based on the SLFRF interest that might be available. And so these would be for applicants that had applied from the 2023 tax credit round. So stay tuned. We're looking for confirming that interest, and then we'll know if we can move those projects forward for the January 28th meeting. That said, I want to mention budget. As you heard me say, looking to firm up what that interest is. That is something that we want to do a work session with our state housing board, because as we strive for greater transparency, we want to ensure that our state housing board understands the budget that the Division of Housing is working through. And so with that, we'll be discussing things like SLFRF interest. When and how does that come to the Division of Housing? We'll be talking about vendor fee. In years past, the division had received vendor fee on a monthly basis. With the legislative session last year, that changed. And so we have not actually received our vendor fee yet this year, and anticipate an infusion of vendor fee in February. So we're looking to have a work session in February or March to discuss how that budget works and when the timing of funds works. Make sure that folks understand the budget packets that are coming through. Okay. And then in February 11th and then March 11th are the dates that we're looking at for those state housing board meetings. And then we will be providing more information about the rest of the cadence for the year for the state housing board meetings. And of course, that will all be on our website. Okay, I think with that, I want to wish you all a very happy holidays and a new year. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the new year. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks for that, Allison. When you said that, I was like, can we go now? Do we get to start celebrating?
Let's go celebrate.
Almost there. Great news about Kristen. LaDon?
Just to clarify, we are not meeting on January 14th. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are not meeting on January 14th.
Okay, I will delete that one. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Allison. Happy holidays to you as well. We will
Thank
move
you.
on to the Enterprise Community Loan Fund Amendment. Presenting is Ariel Cisneros.
Good mornings, or good afternoon, sorry. Still full of sugar from our holiday party earlier today. So this is just brief amendment and more of an update for you all. This master credit agreement that we have been a part of for over the past decade is being extended again. So we just wanted to report out with some updates of exciting things of the accomplishments of this master credit agreement, and then let you know we anticipate extending it for another 4 years to continue the great work that this loan fund has contributed to the metro area. The metro area focusing on building housing and development near transient-oriented communities. So if you have any questions on the amendment or on the memo, please let me know. But we just wanted to give you kind of an outcomes report on how things are going and our intention to keep it going.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Ariel. Do you need a vote or anything from us on this?
No, we don't. We just wanted to provide an update to you all.
Okay. Any questions for Ariel from the team? Sam?
Thank you. Ariel, can you highlight some of the accomplishments or some of the programs that this fund has helped be a catalyst for?
Yeah. So in the memo, it highlights the 8 projects that DOH has been a part of, with the creation of a total of 987 affordable housing units. And that's just the projects that DOH has been a part of. There's been 27 loans total over the past decade that have targeted development for these transient-oriented communities. We did name all 8 projects. One thing that I will note is that this project or this loan fund has targeted the city and county of Denver, but with this additional amendment, it's going to expand to cover more of the metro area because we know transient people are having to travel all over the metro community and don't necessarily get to work in the communities that they live in. So as you can see, we have there's been a few name changes of some of the projects because we provided loan funds quite a bit. But Johnson and Wales, I feel like, is a pretty more recent one. The Mosaic community that has come up, Bonsai Apartments, Abrigo Apartments, and Stanley 98. I realize we didn't name exactly where these are located at, but with the agreement and the terms, it should be in the Denver, or they are in the city and county of Denver. Because that's what the geographical area had targeted in this past amendment of the master credit agreements.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, the introduction to private activity bonds. Lisa Blakeney will be presenting.
Hi, good afternoon. To begin, I'm just going to do a brief refresher and overview of the private activity bond program, better known as PABs. What are PABs? They're not cash. They are tax-exempt bonds issued for specific qualified purposes, including affordable housing, single-family mortgages, mortgage credit certificates, manufacturing, exempt facilities like hazardous waste and solid waste disposal, water and sewer facilities, and redevelopment projects. Specific descriptions for project types are on page 13 and 14 in your packet. The federal government grants annual allocations of this bonding authority to states under the Tax Reform Act of 1986. The federal allocations are calculated on a per capita basis. For calendar year 2025, the amount used to calculate the state ceiling for the volume cap for private activity bonds is 130 multiplied by the state population. The program consists of 2 major elements. There's the direct allocation. 50% of the state volume cap is allocated directly to statewide authorities. Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, CHAFA, and Colorado Agricultural Development Authority, CADA. CADA issues tax-exempt agricultural bonds for the Beginning Farmer Program to provide affordable loans specifically designed to help new farmers purchase land, equipment, or other necessary assets to start their agricultural operations. Statewide authorities may utilize this allocation from January through September 15th of each year. The remaining 50% of the PAB volume cap is allocated directly to local governments whose populations warrant allocations of 1 million or more will receive a direct allocation to be utilized from January to September 15th of each year. The remainder is retained in the statewide balance. If any portion of a direct allocation is not used by a statewide authority or local government, the remaining allocation reverts to the statewide balance on September 15th. Then we have the PAB statewide balance. Is available to local issuers not receiving a direct allocation or statewide authorities and designated local governments that need additional allocation. The Department of Local Affairs, Division of Housing, DOLA, and DOH accepts applications for allocations from the statewide balance 3 times a year, March 1st, June 1st, and November 1st. Staff reviews applications and makes recommendations to the State Housing Board, which is the reason we're here today. Staff is recommending the following 2025 statewide balance program priorities consistent with previous years. The first being rental housing and for sale housing. The second is industrial development bonds and exempt facility bonds. On page 15 of your packet is the memo regarding the overall process for PAB applications in the November round. DOLA received requests for $85.9 million in statewide balance cap, with only $27.8 million available. The applications were analyzed and underwritten by DOH staff. PAB applications differ from traditional gap funding and program applications as they occur earlier in the process, often before final project drawings, construction costs, and budgeting have been completed. The review of these proposed projects focus on the following: project feasibility, sponsor and applicant capacity to develop the project and issue the bonds, project readiness to proceed, shovel ready is preferred over pipeline project requests, to increase the supply of affordable housing through new construction or acquisition of market rate housing being converted to affordable housing, efficient and cost-effective use of the PAB resource, that there's local support from the community, local sources of PAB, in addition to the statewide balance being requested, preservation of affordable housing units, rehabilitation and extension of use covenant, the LURA, for affordable housing units whose existing restrictions expire within 3 years. On this slide, it also mentions the year-end reports. And while they're not part of the slide presentation, they have been included in the members' full packet. And the packet will be posted on the DOLA PAB website at the conclusion of this meeting. Beginning on page 17 of your packet are the annual reports. Information is current as of December 3rd, 2024. Pages 17 through 21 is the 2024 local use summary. This report shows all of the direct allocations to local governments and the activity for each entity for the year. Pages 22 and 23 is the 2024 statewide authority use summary. This report shows the 2024 direct allocations and activities for CHAFA and CADA. Pages 24 through 26 is the balance by issuer. This shows the current total of all available bonds by entity. Page 27 is a report showing the bonds by type issued in 2024. For the beginning farmer program, approximately 5 million, industrial bonds, 10 million, multifamily, 348,735,000, for a total issued of 363,720,000. Page 28 is the history and summary of bonds issued by type for years 2016 through 2024. Laura, next slide, please. And as this slide shows, we're going to start the application summary and staff recommendations on the applications. The first slide shows the project name, number, applicant, developer, and proposed activity. Next slide, please, Laura. This slide shows the number of units, target closing date, LIHTC credits expected date, degree of community support, project gap, gap per unit, and the statewide balance requested amount. Next slide, please, Laura. The final slide of the three shows the total PAB cap needed for the project. There's a 50% minimum test required. However, DOH uses 52% of aggregate basis as a baseline. This slide also shows previous awards in the current year of statewide balance volume cap, other PAB cap committed, potential for PAB cap assignments in 2025, the staff recommendations for awards per project, total PAB available per project, and PAB total as percentage of aggregate basis. Aggregate basis is the eligible basis plus land. Next slide, please. I will now briefly describe each project application for statewide balanced PAB cap and the staff recommendation for each project. First up is the flats at Sand Creek. El Paso County is the applicant and Lincoln Avenue Communities is the developer. They requested $3 million of statewide balanced PAB cap. Staff recommends an award of $2,816,526. This is a new construction multifamily rental project creating 144 new units of affordable housing. 100% of the units will be restricted at 60% or lower AMI, serving families. The unit mix consists of 72 two-bedroom, 36 three-bedroom, and 36 four-bedroom units. The community support is they have local PAB contributed along with HTF funds. The 4% LIHTC approval is estimated to be May of 2025 with a target closing date in June of 2025. This project will target 2 to 6 person households. The market study indicates that 41% of households in Colorado Springs are paying 35% of their income towards rent as of 2022. 20.4% of renter households in the PMA are 4 or more person households, indicating a need for affordable family housing. Next slide, please, Laura. Next up, we have Bradley Ridge Apartments. The City of Colorado Springs is the applicant. Lincoln Avenue Communities is the developer. They requested $7 million of statewide balanced PAB cap, and staff is recommending $5 million. This is also a new construction multifamily rental project, creating 168 new units of affordable housing. This is phase 1 of a planned 2-phase development that will ultimately end up creating 336 units of family housing. In phase 1, 100% of the units will be restricted at 60% or lower AMI. The unit mix consists of 84 two-bedroom, 42 three-bedroom, and 42 four-bedroom units. Their community support is that they do have local PAB contributed. Currently, there are no grants or soft funds for the project. 4% LIHTC approval is estimated to be May of 2025 with a target closing date in June of 2025. And the market information on this project is going to sound very similar because both the flats and Bradley Ridge are located in Colorado Springs. So the project will target 2 to 6 person households. And for the market study, 41% of renters in Colorado Springs paid more than 35% of their income towards rent as of 2022. The average household size in the PMA is larger than that of the surrounding MSA and national average, which indicates the need for affordable housing in the area. Market demand category for the project is 4 out of 5, which supports market demand and need for the project is high. Next slide, please, Laura. This is the 34th Street project. The applicant and developer is Boulder Housing Partners. They requested $10 million of statewide balanced PAB cap. Staff is recommending $2 million. This is a new construction rental project creating 44 new affordable housing units. The units will be townhomes, with all having a ground level entry, private outdoor space, and storage for bicycles. The affordability mix will be 5 units at 30% AMI, 6 units at 40% AMI, and the 33 remaining units will be at 50% AMI. In addition, 14 units will receive project-based vouchers for a minimum of 15 years. The community support is local PAB is contributed along with soft debt and grants. The 4% LIHTC approval is estimated to be 4th quarter of 2024. Boulder Housing Partners owns the property and the financial closing is anticipated in August of 2025. The 34th Street project was based on demand for affordable family units in Boulder, confirmed by the market study. Per the study, similar affordable communities in the PMA have experienced high occupancy rates, so the low AMI rents will allow the project to lease quickly. Demand is expected to remain high, with the potential for units being fully pre-leased prior to completion. Next slide, please, Laura. Next up, we have the Ives 2, Foothills Regional Housing, as the applicant and developer. They requested $8,134,257 of statewide balance PAB cap. Staff is recommending $7,700,000 or $7,700,000. This is new construction multifamily rental project creating 80 new affordable housing units for families in Wheat Ridge. There are 43 one-bedroom, 32 bedroom, and 7 three-bedroom units. The affordable mix consists of 9 units at 30% AMI, 12 units at 40% AMI, 3 units at 50% AMI, 13 units at 60% AMI, and 42 units at 70 AMI. So a really nice mix. Community support, local PAB has been contributed, and they have a county grant and also state affordable tax credits. The 4% LIHTC and state tax credits approval is estimated to be fourth quarter of 2024, with a target closing date of September 2025. More than half of all Wheat Ridge renter households pay 30% or more of their household income toward housing costs. The target population is households earning between 30% and 70% of the area median income. The average apartment vacancy in the PMA is 4.5%, and the inclusion of the 70% AMI units addresses an underserved market as there are no existing LIHTC units at this threshold. Next slide, please, Laura. Next up, we have Eagle Villas. Eagle County Housing and Development Authority is the applicant. Ulysses Development Group is the developer. They requested $10,300,000 of the statewide balance PAB cap, and staff is recommending $10,300,000. This application is for recapitalization and rehabilitation of 120 recently preserved affordable housing units. Eagle Villa represents 52% of total tax credit finance stock of affordable rental housing in Eagle County. Ulysses Development Group acquired the property in April of 2024 with a plan to recapitalize the property to include $9 million or $75,000 per unit renovation and rehabilitation, and also extend the affordability restrictions for 60 years. Eagle Villas consists of 120 total units with 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. There are 10 units at 45% AMI, 25 units at 50% AMI, and 85 units at 60% AMI. They do have local PAB contributed with both hard and soft debt. The 4% LIHTC approval is expected February of 2025 and a target closing date of March 2025. Rural resort towns like Eagle face prohibitive land costs due to limited availability, compounded by a small population and tax base, causing limited resources to support affordable housing. The project will extend the affordability restrictions for 60 years on all 120 units. Next slide, please, Laura. Next up is Parkside Mountain View Plaza. City of Longmont Housing Authority as the applicant. Lincoln Avenue Communities is the developer. They requested $10 million of statewide balance PAB cap. The staff is recommending a zero amount award. This application is for resyndication and rehabilitation of a multifamily rental. There are 2 properties included as one project. The number of units preserved would be 130. Parkside has 50 units and Mountain View has 80 units. These are senior and family units, all restricted at 30% AMI. There are 72 one-bedroom, 22 two-bedroom, and 36 three-bedroom units. They do have local PAB contributed with HTF funds. The 4% LIHTC approval is not expected until November of 2025, with expected closing in December of 2025. The project does not currently meet the required 50% of aggregate basis test. As submitted, the PAB percentage of aggregate basis is 25.50. Therefore, staff recommendation is a zero award for the project at this time. The applicant is encouraged to apply for statewide balance PAB volume cap in the 2025 rounds. Next slide, please. Next up is future pipeline projects for the City and County of Denver, Department of Housing Stability, or HOST. The developers would vary based on individual projects within the pipeline. Denver requested $37,530,000. and staff is recommending a 0 award at this time. The City and County of Denver projection shows having roughly 46.2 million of PAB available for the 87.7 million PAB needed in 2025. So the 37.5 million request illustrates Denver's need in the coming year based on the current pipeline. Staff recommendation of 0 award from the statewide balance PABs is due to the competitive nature of this round and is in line with the statewide balance PAB application review criteria, specifically project readiness, shovel ready versus pipeline projects. The applicant is encouraged to apply for the statewide balance PAB volume cap in the 2025 rounds. This concludes the PAB annual reporting and project presentations. So I will turn the meeting back over to Anthea and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Elisa. Appreciate it. Are there any questions from the board? And while we open that up, Elisa, can you go back to that slide where you had all of the PAB awards on one chart, please, that showed the developers and the amounts?
Oh yeah, Laura, that's the summary.
Thanks, Anthea. That's what I was just looking for in my packet.
It actually is one spreadsheet, but we split it into 3, so it was more readable on a slide.
One slide before this one. One more before this one. There we go. Do you mind going to the one that shows the amounts, please? Great, thank you.
Can you flip back to the previous one that you were on? Sorry, that shows the developers.
No, that's the first slide, Laura.
Okay. Okay, you can go back to that other one that showed the amounts.
Lisa, I think you said a few of these were in, a couple of these at least were in Colorado Springs. Maybe similar partners here. What do you all do to make sure that you're diversifying location, who gets these awards, et cetera? Like, how are you tracking all that across the board, not just with PABs, but all of the dollars and benefits or incentives coming out of DOH in general? Is there something that you all are doing to make sure that it is demographically diverse, amongst clients, et cetera?
I can really only speak to the PAB awards. As far as other funds, other DOH funds, I'm sure it's a similar situation. These are the applications that we received, and so we can only compare them to each other. And we tried to be fair in the amounts. As you can see, we're pretty much at, most of them are like a 55% of aggregate basis, which is above what we normally would award. But we felt like giving a little bit more and increasing that, we got to award more projects with a little higher PAB amount. And so really I know you can see that Lincoln Avenue Communities has 3 projects, right? And they have the 2 that are in Colorado Springs, but they competed very well. I mean, they're close to being ready, and it was just a top off pretty much. And we did not fund their 3rd project, the Parkside and Mountain View Plaza, because it's just not ready yet. So
And I just want to jump in for DOH more generally, right? So we have shifted to this very competitive funding structure. That said, we have development specialists embedded throughout the state that are trying to get projects from a variety of geographies ready. I'd say the PABs, keep in mind some of this is driven by density, right? And so I would say this is a particular typology of project, which is why you're seeing some repeat developers. Generally speaking, across our funding sources, though, we do have targets for rural projects, and we are tracking and doing our best to make sure that we're getting a diversity of geographies as well as developer types. And that's through proactive outreach and partnership with local municipalities and developers who are not just embedded in the urban areas.
Lizanne, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Do you feel like our process is favoring some of the bigger developers instead of the smaller developers, since Lincoln Avenue, you said, competes very well, and maybe some of the smaller developers aren't able to compete as well?
I think that there's a little bit of a private activity bonds and the density associated with needing to get these type of projects done, much like you would see in a Chaffa round. You obviously have some repeat folks, but I think noted concerns here. This is sort of the application pool that we have. Like Lisa said, we did not fund one of those projects, right? And so we're trying to be competitive. That said, please keep in mind, these are denser projects and tend to be larger. And so that draws a certain developer typology. We have a lot more diversity, as you can see in our regular funding application, where we're serving sort of non-tax credit projects and home ownership projects. And so I think part of it is just the typology of this specific funding source. I see several hands up.
Sam, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Anthony. In the 9% world, there's a kind of like a restriction on one developer getting funded for more than one deal in a cycle. I assume that there's no such restriction with the PAB applications. Is that correct, Teresa?
That is correct. And I'll note, we're going both by applicant here as well as developer. So if you go back to that first slide, trying to get a diversity of both, but you are correct, Sam, we don't have a hard and fast restriction.
Right. And then the one project in Longmont, the Parkside, that didn't get funded. This is obviously a sophisticated developer. Why was this application even submitted when it wasn't even close to being ready?
I can take that. Basically, I was told that they just wanted it on our radar because it's up and coming, and they wanted us to know that. I fully expect them to reapply in either the March or June round. But that's what I was told, is that they just wanted it on our radar, that it's a project that they want to get moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
And Elisa, did you say that these are the only applications you received?
Yes.
That's really surprising. Okay.
And so we're sorry, but we're just specifically showing you those that we did not fund as well. So you can really see the universe of who applied.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there wasn't more of a demand for this. Wayne, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, just talking to Lisa mentioned this during her presentation. She mentioned the 50% test. So one of the unique things and one of the more confusing aspects of private activity bonds has to do with what's called the 50% test. So she did mention the aggregate basis, which is essentially your 4% eligible basis that you get for 4% credits, plus the value of land. And essentially what has to happen is you have to have enough private activity bonds to at least be 50% of that eligible base, 4% eligible basis plus land value, which is called the aggregate basis. That said, PAB projects, especially for those that are getting non-competitive state tax credits, they tend to be more in the urban areas, more of the larger projects, so much more of an urban bet. It's difficult for smaller projects because they just can't sustain that level of debt. So essentially what happens under the 50% test, essentially you're looking at having must-pay debt, which is equal to 50% of your expected cost of your aggregate basis. And so therefore, one of the things that you're looking at is a certain size. If you look at the number of units in each of these projects, they're all pretty big, with the exception of the Boulder project, which has the advantage of probably having some Section 8 vouchers on it. So there is much worry of a geographic limitation. It's harder for projects, say, in Delta or Montrose, even Grand Junction, to work because they tend to be smaller projects and just can't sustain that level of debt.
I think what I'm hearing, though, from all of you is there's sort of an interest in the diversity of DOH funding more generally. And so we will commit to sort of summarize that for you based on when we have fiscal year numbers of where we're funding by geography. So you can sort of see how things are dispersed. With, again, this is a very specific funding source that requires some density to work, as Wayne was saying. And so it's going to draw repeats for geographies and relatedly developers.
That's very helpful. Thank you for that, Teresa. And Ryan, do you have a question?
Yes, quickly, kind of to piggyback on that too. Based upon this month's report in your write-up, I'm noticing that there could quite possibly be barriers to entry into the function of low housing development, whether they lack the capacity, capability, trained human capital, so on and so forth. And so from a rational perspective, sometimes we might have to accept a greater level of risk in order to make sure that we meet one of the desired end states of diversity in terms of whether it's giving a smaller scale development company the opportunity to make like yeast and rise to the occasion, as well as across the board in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as access to these types of resources, whether it's housing or the contract or on the contracting side. So I just wanted to point that out too, that I think it's important that we do understand that since there is a given in terms of barriers to enter in this market, that we also holistically might have to go forward and maybe quite possibly underwrite some of the risks that are inherent to giving it to smaller level competition. So thank you for your hard work and your time and consideration.
Yeah, definitely hear you on that. I will say these bond deals typically are not the point of entry to affordable housing, both because of the size of the deals as well as the complexity of financing. This is very hard debt. This is an industry in and of itself that require its own host of tax attorneys and accountants, et cetera. And so we're trying to have diversity across DOH funding sources. To everyone's point, though, you are not going to see as much diversity because of the density here. Noted, though, that you'd like a little bit more information on geography and sort of who we're serving more generally.
Okay, excellent. So looking at the agenda, the presentation of applications to the statewide balance, you all went through each of those deals already. What is it that you need from us? Do you need approval here of the statewide balance awards as presented?
Yes.
Okay. If there are no further questions, if I can ask for a motion for approval of the statewide balance as presented.
This is Candace. I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Candace.
This is LaDawn, second.
Thanks, LaDawn. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raised.
Aye.
Hi.
Anybody opposed? I should have asked if anyone was abstaining. Opposed or abstaining, maybe? I think we got votes of approval from everyone, so no abstentions. That's the right word. Okay, excellent. I believe that wraps up our meeting. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting here?
We do have like a public comment on statewide balance priorities, if there are any.
Are there any public comments? Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on the statewide balance priorities? Okay, hearing nobody. Thank you all for your time today. and have a wonderful holiday. We'll see you all in the new year.
Hey, stay safe.
Happy
Merry
New
Happy
Year, all.
holidays, everybody.
Thank
Holidays,
you.
everyone.
Take care. Stay. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.